There we go. My apologies. Boy, I tell you, this OBS program can be a real pain in the butt. Everything was running just fine, and then as soon as the stream starts, the broadcasting software crashed. So, oh boy, it looks like we are finally back in business. Okay, my apologies, everyone. Hopefully, you guys restarted your browsers already, and we're gonna go ahead and start. Oh my goodness. Okay. So yes, yesterday was the bitter cold up in Greenland. And today we're going to warm things up a little bit. And we're heading down to the South Pacific. It's Orbx Pago Pago by the legendary dynamic duo Ken and Tim, the guys who did that fascinating Papua New Guinea series of challenging airstrips, have come back again to give us a destination that is equally just as beautiful, but not so much as challenging. But nevertheless, it is something that I consider to be one of the more exotic destinations in the world of Flight Simulator, and I am finally happy to be able to get underway with that now. So, again, as many of you know, I'm in the process of trying to play catch up in terms of getting all of these live previews out for products that were released over the last several weeks. And of course, because of Flight SimCon 2015, it took me a little bit longer than I anticipated to try to get around all of these projects. So today I am doing kind of a twofer. I'm combining this live preview with Alabeo's C404 Titan. And let's see here. I can switch to the external view here. And I am running Active Sky next ASN at the moment, so it looks like the weather is not going to be as good as I think we all hoped it would be. It's raining, but hopefully it's still a little bit warmer than Greenland from yesterday. So we are here on the ground at Pago Pago Airport. And the interesting thing about this scenery is that, or rather this entire scenery product, is that it is rather large. In fact, it's huge. And it took me a while to try to decide what I would show, because basically the guys have compiled so many airports in with this thing that it was a bit difficult for me to try to figure out what I would and wouldn't show, only because of time. And for me to show everything, it'd literally be taking me a few hours to get from one edge of the scenery coverage area all the way to the other, and that's because these guys have included so many airports down here. They didn't want to just give you a couple of airports to hop back and forth in between. I remember when I first published some of the news on this airport, some of the biggest concerns were that this airport is just way too remote. There's nothing anywhere nearby to do flights to, which is actually not true. There's a number of islands that you could do flights to that are third-party add-ons. For example, you have the Pacific Island Simulations guys, and they've done a number of airports, including Rorotonga, and I actually wrote a review on that, which is nice. And I think that airport is only about roughly maybe 1,200 miles away, maybe a little bit more than that. So for you tube-liners guys, I mean, obviously you have a lot of airports. I think there's a nice freeware Fiji floating around, and besides that, PAXIM actually did a lot of islands out here. So, I mean, there's plenty of airports if you know where to look. And, of course, if you check the master airports list or the map on airdailyx.net, you'll actually be able to see that there's a lot of airports that you can actually find. But nevertheless, the guys wanted to make sure that they gave you a number of smaller airports to hop around here. So, of course, we have Western Samoa and American Samoa. So they included so many airports, I had to kind of narrow it down in terms of deciding what airports I would show in the live stream. And so I basically narrowed it down just to 3 islands, which is the main island here. The next island is, doggone it, what is it called? Give me a second. I gotta pull up my map here. Let's see. I think the next one is, well, it's 4 islands. So I think you have Ofu and Olosega, if I'm even pronouncing these right, and then the last one I think is called Manua, something to that effect. So those are the 3 islands. Wow, I gotta tell you, it was sunny here a few moments ago and ASN kicked in, and now it's just like the weather is not gonna be cooperating at all. But so those are basically the 3 islands that I'm gonna preview. Now there's a number of atolls out there, and I've basically previewed the entire scenery on my own, and I have to tell you, there's some really, really beautiful atolls out there to visit. But I'm gonna leave a lot of this stuff to the imagination for you guys to go out and purchase the product on your own, and you know, give yourselves an opportunity to kind of explore it rather than me just sort of showing off everything. So with that said, I'm going to show off just these 4 islands, and if you like what you see, then that should be enough for you to purchase it, and then you can kind of go back on your own and just sort of decide from there, you know, where you're going to take your own adventure. Alright, so let's get started. This place obviously looks much better when you are in the sunlight. So today's weather is not really going to show off just how beautiful this place is, but since this is the real weather, real time, this is what we're going to kind of go with. Nice little crosswind out here this morning as well. So first impressions, the guys have done a magnificent job, especially with the airport. I'm going to try to do a small airport flyby, but I can tell you that the airport is very, very well done. You can see here the guys have used some very high resolution PR coverage. And for the most part, for anyone who likes to fly VFR, you're going to have a wonderful time just exploring these islands and flying around them. Now, I know that there was one or a couple of complaints in terms of what was actually covered with these products. And basically, the islands that we're going to be covering today are the islands that are fully done with the full photoreal and everything else. But like I said, there's a number of airports that the guys have created on in Western Samoa. Now, with those islands weren't actually done with the full sort of terrain. That, for example, what you see here, those islands are more or less FTX Global, with just a little, you know, I would probably call it FTX Global Enhanced, if you will. But basically, those islands really just encompass the airports. So those islands aren't going to look as beautiful as the island you see here and the other 3 islands that we're going to preview, that we're going to be en route to shortly. But they do cover the airports, so, and the airports are actually well done. They call them light airports, but I went down and I flew into a few of them, and they don't really feel all that light to me. They are actually very well done. So essentially, the way that I choose to see it is you get these 3 main islands, or these 4 main islands that are fully done, and they all incorporate their airports, including the atolls. And then as icing on the cake, the guys basically went in and added a bunch of additional airports for some nearby islands with FTX Global, which is, I think, basically the Western Samoa, if I got that right. So just basically doing a little bit of a flyby here. And as you can see, this is the Alabeo Titan, which is a lovely airplane. I've been spending quite a bit of time in this hefty aircraft as well. I'm going to take the power down just a little bit to keep us below the weather so we can get a nice aerial view of that airport. And as you can see, there is traffic on the roads down there as well. Very nice. Lots of hand-placed autogen trees and buildings. Very nicely done. In fact, Tim and Ken have done such a terrific job with these islands. I wouldn't be upset if these guys decided to go in and basically do the entire Caribbean. That's a small plug for me because I love Caribbean flying, but trying try to zoom in here on the airport just a little bit. It's not a fairly large airport. You can see there's a couple of static aircraft down there along with some AI aircraft. There's a Hawaiian 767 down there. I think we're all still waiting for someone to develop a proper 767. I don't know if Level D is going to do that or not, but this is obviously a terrific airport for your 777. In fact, I'd recommend it because a lot of people are concerned with, you know, where they can fly their PMDG aircraft, and they're concerned about OOMs. Usually when you're flying over large bodies of water like this and you're not flying over much scenery, you really don't have to worry too much about running out of memory. And of course, performance is stellar. Taking a look at that lovely water masking work down there. Oh, that's just beautiful. That is some wonderful work by the guys. Loving that coloration. I should also give a shout out to the guys at FSFX Packages. This is Precip Effects, and or Precipit Effects, actually, which you can see here with this lovely rain textures that we're kind of flying through here. If you do not have Precipit Effects from FSFX Packages, you need to get it. It is going to change your life. And no more warp effects. And just flying around this island really kind of reminds me of the old Fly Tampa St. Martin. And it just really comes to show the skill level that Ken and Tim have. I mean, this is just absolutely amazing work. This is prepared version 2.5, and I'm in the process of still installing a lot of my add-ons. Unfortunately, one of the things that I forgot to do was remove the control tower view. So I'm still in the process of getting my prepared back up and running properly. But this is the latest version of prepared. And when I first installed it, I had some funky sort of stuttering issues, but that all seemed to have gone away now. I've done quite a few flights already, and it actually is running really well. I picked up that Crazy Creatives Marble Canyon scenery, and for those of you who haven't heard of that, that's a new developer, and they basically developed Marble Canyon, which is, you know, I think a little bit northeast of the Grand Canyon, and they made a nice little airport there. So I did some sorties yesterday back and forth between that and Sedona, and the performance has been running fairly well. So far, no complaints with prepared version 2.5. They did release a patch a couple of days ago, but I think that had more to do with Sim Director or whatever they call it, so nothing too serious. Now we are moving away from the main island, just trying to keep the altitude a little bit low so you can see just how well those islands are done. And again, if it were a sunny day, which I was hoping it was going to be, the water looks more vibrant, obviously. You get that more tropical look with the water. But unfortunately, this is the real weather at the moment, so this is what we're going to go with. I find it very difficult trying to fly without active sky these days, so. And the team has created a number of small islands and atolls in just a huge number of airports. The atolls are exceptionally pretty, and the atolls, there's really nowhere to land out there, so a lot of you might think, well, what's the point of flying all the way out to an atoll if there's nowhere to land? But when you arrive at some of these atolls, you'll find that it was worth the trip. Some of them are pretty far out. But when you get there and you fly around them, it's quick and it's easy to realize, wow, just how beautiful it is. And just to, you know, spin circles around the atolls for a few minutes and then, you know, head back. But that's part of the journey, I think, with Flight Simulator, is you don't always have to have a destination. Sometimes it's nice to just fly out to somewhere and fly around and return home. And that's how I sort of picture these atolls. And in fact, some of these atolls are so realistic that if you were to just take a screenshot, it looks like, you know, a real picture that someone took from an aircraft. Like, I mean, that's just how well done this scenery is. Get our aircraft on track. And the flight time between these islands, I think, is probably 30, 40 minutes, something like that, depending on which aircraft you choose to fly. So at some point, if the flight gets a little bit too long, I'll probably, even though I never like to do this, but I might wind up doing a time acceleration just for the purposes of the stream itself. Gosh, you know what? I'm really tempted to turn off the active sky. The weather here is just too harsh. And I feel like we're not going to really be able to get a decent feel of these islands with active sky. So I'm actually going to disable active sky here. Because I really, really want to be able to show off these islands the way they should be seen, because it really is pretty. Let me see. Your screen's going to go black for just a second. I'm going to change the weather to something a little prettier. No, that's not going to work. Let's try... That's a little bit better. I still feel like that's a little too much overcast, though. Yeah, that'll work. That's pretty. It's a little bit prettier. So I see some of the usuals have shown up. Again, apologies. As soon as the stream started, when we went from the intro all the way up to the start of the stream, the second I selected prepared in the OBS selection screen, the whole thing just crashed. So when it comes to OBS, I mean, it is an open source program, so it's always in a state of permanent beta. So you never know what you're going to expect until you turn the thing on, and then, you know, everything just goes straight to the dumpster. So apologies for that, guys. Point777 is saying he loves that water. This is the water, sky, and cloud textures are all part of Rex. This is all Rex for Texture Direct. And ever since I bought my first copy of Rex, which was for FS9, I found it impossible to ever fly without it. So it's something that's become a staple of my simulation experience. In fact, when Rex released the product for FS9 all those years ago, it transformed FS9 so dramatically that it essentially turned FS9 into a whole new simulator. And I think that's one of the biggest culprits of so many people sticking with FS9 is when they saw just how much better it could look. A lot of people stuck around for even longer. So I think had it not been for that, I think a lot of people probably would have made the switch a lot sooner, probably to FSX or another platform. So obviously, what Rex does for FSX and Prepared is essentially the same thing it did for FS9. It turns it completely into a whole different simulator. I mean, essentially, it's like, you know, using the simulator with just, when you don't have it, the simulator just as default almost looks ugly and terrifying compared to what Rex does for it. And then, of course, you have when you tack on things like FTX Global and the FTX regions and all that stuff. I mean, those two just go hand in hand. And then, of course, you have the pilot's mesh and all of that. So, you know, once you throw in all those things, I mean, it's just a whole new thing. So, yes, what Rex does for water textures, it's just one of those things that I can't live without. Sky textures, cloud textures, you name it. So I highly recommend it. If you don't have it, definitely check it out. I mentioned the FSFX packages, and that's one of those things also, in my opinion, that no one should be without. If you don't have, in other words, if you don't have the 777 or the NGX, which is a lot what they're developed for, what they have developed for already, and they're all developing for the Aerosoft Airbus. But if you don't have any of those aircraft and you fly just GA, definitely get the Precipit effects, because it'll change just the way the snow textures, the water textures, when it comes to terrain and everything else. And if you see my interview with the team, then you know that they are currently developing and finding a way to implement, and this will only be in Prepared, just so you know, for you FSX guys, but a way for the water to actually hit the windshield and spray off the windshield, and when you turn on your windshield wipers, it'll wipe the rain away. And so they are developing it, and essentially they have done it. So it is possible, because they have done it. And if you've seen their April Fool's video, you actually see the technology in use. So they have done it. But the problem is, when you turn or bank the aircraft, there's something in the coding, the way that Prepared is coded, that the effects, I guess, they sort of dissipate. So they are working on a way to make that happen, and hopefully they're working directly with the guys that Prepared as well, so that they can get the coding right on that. So it is in development, and I know a lot of us are going to be really excited. I think a lot of people are probably going to switch from FSX to Prepared once they officially, you know, figure out how to get that thing working. So Patrick is saying, I usually fly a helicopter, but why not today? The reason why I'm not flying a helicopter today is because we're hopping between these islands, and to fly a helicopter between these islands would just take far too long for the stream. And not only that, but, you know, I'd have to hand fly the helicopter. There is a helicopter autopilot program out there, but it only works for FSX. It doesn't really work in Prepared. So to have to hand fly a helicopter from these two islands, or to these islands, from those islands, would take a lot longer, and it would just make my arm sore, because that's flying in a straight line for way too long. And let's face it, if I'm hand flying a distance like this, it won't be in a straight line. I'll be all over the place. So I deemed it more prudent to fly around in an airplane. And because these islands are so small anyway, I can just, you know, bring the aircraft down to a slow enough speed to where I can so circle the islands. And not only that, but I think it would be fun to actually land at some of these on some of these runways that these islands come with. So the C404 here is actually moving a lot faster than I expected. I'm getting here a lot quicker than I thought I would. So what I think I will do is we're going to hit these 3 islands coming up. It's actually 3 islands, not 2. We're going to hit these 3 islands. We're going to land and depart and take a look at the airports that are there, fly around the islands a little bit, and then we'll head out to the atoll, one of the atolls, which is a little bit further out, and that'll pretty much conclude the broadcast. And Viper is saying Active Sky Next is really made a difference for him as well as far as changing the simulation experience. Yeah, before using ActiveSky, I'd been using the FS Global Real World Weather, and I had used that for probably about a year. And it's a terrific program. I love it. I mean, there are some guys out there that use Opus FSX, but you know, it's interesting because there were so many people that got on my case saying, you have to try ActiveSky, you have to try ActiveSky. And, you know, I hadn't really looked into it that much, but, you know, it's not always just me reporting the news to you guys. Sometimes you guys report the news to me. And so, as it pertained to ActiveSky, you know, once I tried it, and the great thing about ActiveSky, and this is the best thing about it, is that they offer like a free 7-day trial, and it's an unlimited trial so that you can utilize all of the features of the program. So once I used that, after the 7 days, I was like, oh, I'm convinced I have to have this. And it just comes with features that surpass Opus FSX and Real World Weather by far, just the number of options and add-ons that comes with it. So that's pretty much why I decided to make the switch, and it definitely is the superior program of all of the programs that are in its class, or in its market, if you will. So yeah, I really like it, and I don't see myself using anything else. And for the people who use the other aforementioned programs as well, have basically said the same thing to me. They're like, yeah, you know, there was one particular person that said, you know, hey, I love Opus FSX. I've used it forever. It works great for me. And then they tried the 7-day trial from ASN, and they were like, wow. So, yeah, ASN is pretty much the superior program when it comes to weather management. There's another one as well. Rex actually has their own program also, which incorporates real weather. And I've basically heard the same thing, where people have said they switched over to ASN and they just find ASN to be better. So obviously to each his own, but for me ASN is definitely the one that I like. Captain Gumbo says the stream is buffering a lot. Is anyone else having any buffering issues? Patrick is saying flight Tampa Vienna 2.6 is out. Nice. Gotta check that out. RZ ARC is saying I'm pronouncing atoll incorrectly. You know, it's funny. I used to work for Air New Zealand about 15 years ago. And so obviously we had a number of employees that were from Samoa and Tonga and New Zealand. And the interesting thing is they all pronounce it atoll. So they are from there, and that's how I've heard them pronounce it. So that's very interesting. But he's saying it's pronounced atoll or utol or something like that. But the most common way to pronounce it is atoll, and that's how I've heard it. So this is the first that I've heard this new way to pronounce it, but I'll definitely take a look into that. Thank you for that correction. Alright, gonna slow things down here because we are getting a little bit close. One of the things about this airplane is she does move pretty fast. That's one of the things I like about this beast. And this Ordnance Survey livery, I think, is a UK-based livery, isn't it? I'm not sure. But it's my favorite, so that's why I chose this one. Looks like we have some thermals up here today. Alright, so let me go back to my map here. And so this island, and I'll probably butcher up the name, but the first island, because there is 2 islands here with a small bridge sort of connecting the 2 of them. So the one that's closest to us is Ofu, and the one slightly further away is Olosega, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but I'm sure you guys will forgive me. So you can already see one of the airfields there coming into view, just on the to the right side of Ofu. And I think that's the other reason why it was a good idea to use an aircraft for this, or an airplane rather, for this particular stream, is so that we can actually land at some of these airstrips. And you can watch me forget to do things like put my landing gear down. Makes it all that much more fun. And I am using the, I believe it's the 4096 textures. So we get to see these, 4098, 4096. So we get to see these islands in really high resolution, which is good. And obviously now that the sun is out, we can see the water masking and the water coloration a lot better. And how the water meets these photoreal beaches. Very, very lovely. So yesterday I was talking about some of the more remote places in Flight Simulator. And, you know, these sort of remote yet exotic locations. And Nuuk up in Greenland is definitely one of those locations that's remote and very exotic. And the same certainly goes for the Samoan package here. I mean, it is remote, very exotic, and definitely worth the trip to fly out to. Mostly sticking with the external views of the airplane here, so that way we can get the most wide perspective in terms of looking at the scenery. And here we have where the two islands meet. You can see there is a little bridge there in the middle. Try to zoom in here a little bit. You can see that little bridge down there. And you can just see just how nicely done these islands are. Just beautiful. In fact, I mentioned about Tim and Ken. Tim and Ken. Oh my gosh. It is early for me. I am sorry. Doing the Caribbean. Actually, what I would really like to see these guys do is Hawaii. Now that would be awesome if these guys could tackle the Hawaiian Islands. I have not had my coffee this morning. You guys have to forgive me. If these guys can tackle the Hawaiian Islands the way they've done Samoa here, I mean, I think that would just, I think they'd become millionaires overnight. Obviously, FS Stream Team have done a number of the airports on the Hawaiian Islands. I'm sort of on the fence as to whether or not if I feel another developer should go in and do those airports again. It's not that those airports weren't done well, but there's something about the way FSDT codes their airports and the way that they load that you get these really just odd stutters. Case in point, like when I'm at Honolulu, when I'm taxiing around the airport, every now and then I'll just get like this weird, you know, hang up. And my system handles Flight Simulator very well, and I don't get that sort of hang up and pause at any other airport. Especially when approaching, when you're about maybe on the quarter-mile final, you know, the system will pause to load the airport. And they explained why it does that. My thing is I don't get that issue at Flight Tampa or Flightbeam or, you know, any of the other major developers. So I don't understand why it happens with the FSDT airports. So, you know, because of that reason, and really that reason only, part of me wonders if those airports should be redone, just because that's annoying. And it does it at all of their airports. But otherwise, just to finally have a proper Hawaii. Now, I know that someone's working on this nice freeware Hawaiian terrain where they've already done all of the photo reel and it's freely available. I think you can get it from the Lock On Files website, but right now the developer is working on a donation where he's actually autogenning those islands. So I'm very interested to see how that'll come about. In fact, someone sent me a copy of it to test, and I still haven't gotten around to it yet, unfortunately. But certainly, you know, looking at the quality that Tim and Ken put together, I would not be upset if they decided to do it. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and try to land here. Let's see, where's my airport? There it is. Alright, alright, alright. Really love the sounds with this airplane as well. Look at those beautiful islands. So my next real big question for the guys, Tim and Ken, is what islands or where they'll go next. I'm actually just curious in general in terms of what they'll work on next. I know they mentioned that they are still planning to do some PNG airstrips. But I'm also very curious just to see if there's any other islands that these guys are going to consider doing for the near future. It's a very good question. Or if they'll go somewhere else entirely. Very curious to know. Ooh, there's some thermals knocking me around here. Kind of drifting off the runway. That's not good. Yeah, I had a nice little crosswind there and some thermals. And then I have this little fan that's right underneath my desk that kind of keeps me cool, and that thing fell right on my feet, right on my rudder pedals, just as I was landing. I need to move that, so hang on just 1 second and enjoy that pretty view. Yeah, that thing fell right on my foot just as I was touching down. That hurt. Let's see. I'm gonna taxi over to the little terminal there, the little terminal outhouse building, and I'll take a look at some of your comments here. Boy, that all looks beautiful, doesn't it? Some very nice looking houses here alongside the runway. There's some people flow. Very nice. And I love these trees. You know, when Orbx, you know, when I first became a fan of Orbx, you know, what I was most interested in was the Pacific Northwest stuff. So I really wasn't all that excited about the Australian destinations. Because there's just nothing like having the immersion of the Pacific Northwest with all those mountains and, you know, rivers. And I mean, obviously, if you have it, you already know what I'm talking about. And so it was very funny. Look at those birds. it was very funny for me because when the guys released, Tim and Kim, when they released the PNG series, and I saw the first like real set of Orbx palm trees, I just thought, wow, you know, putting Orbx and tropical destinations in the same sentence just never really occurred to me. And, you know, looking at this airport, I mean, it's just fantastic. So it's really changed my whole insight about Pacific Northwest type flying coming from Orbx, because, I mean, Orbx does it all very well. And you have a good assortment of developers that do, you know, different things, and it's just incredible. Look at that. You just can't say that doesn't look pretty. Very realistic too. Very nicely done. I'm going to pull off over here in the dirt and take a look at any questions or comments before we head off to our next destination. Just park right here. Now, my question is does any of the AI traffic fly on any of these runways? That is a good question. Is that Frugal? Frugal's here. Howdy, buddy. Okay, sorry guys, just trying to catch up on some of the comments here. Give me just a quick second. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, just kind of trying to catch up here. So Captain Gumbo saying regarding flight temp of Vienna 2.6. 2.6 will be on sim market. Okay, so if you already own it, it's a free update or what? And Patrick says they're working on an update for Athens too. Awesome. Patrick's asking, have I been to the main island? That is where we departed from. Frugal says do a barrel roll. Can I barrel roll a 404? I don't know. This thing is pretty heavy. Yeah, Gumbo, I actually remembered the landing gear this time, you see. That's only because I know you're watching. So, Frugal, you taking a... Oh, there's a... is something departing Cape Canaveral? Is that what that is? Yeah, that would be awesome to see. Absolutely. Yeah, if you can get that on video, that would be really cool to see. That'd be awesome. Carm, you're horrible. You're very mean. Yeah, I decided to debut the Titan here. I'm not ready to do the Comanche just yet. I don't want everyone to see just how horrible a pilot I really am. I don't want to do something stupid like bust the landing gear. Wow, that's awesome, Frugal. If you're able to bring your camera with you, I don't know if they'll let you bring cameras in there, but as much as you can get, that would be really neat. That would be really awesome. Alright, so let's start moving again. And the next island, if I'm not mistaken, is Manua, if I'm even pronouncing that right. I've already been caught off once pronouncing atolls wrong. here we go. I mean, just looking, just from this perspective, just gonna hit the parking brakes really quickly, and just looking around, just from the virtual cockpit here. I mean, this is just such an immersed location. It really is beautiful. You've got this beautiful sea on one side, and these huge cliffs on the other, and the runway just inviting you on your next adventure straight ahead. This is really, really a beautiful destination. All right, here we go. I can feel those winds already pushing me off to the left here. Ooh, right on the threshold. There we go. Those winds are blowing me pretty darn hard. Too bad they're not a woman. Sorry, I'm cracking myself up here. All right, here we go. What is this? Oh, that's weird. What the heck is that? What is that? Get off me. It's following me. What the hell is that? That must be some weird P3D thing. What the hell? Where the hell did this come from? Okay, that's weird. We didn't see that earlier. I have no idea what the heck that is. Hang on a quick second. Looks like I found a P3D v2.5 bug. Give me 1 second here. Your screen's probably going to go blank for 2 seconds while I figure out what the hell that is. That is weird. Let me see here. I'm just going to hit that real quickly. Oh, it's still there. That is really weird. I have never seen that before. Let me try one more thing here. It's still there. I've actually turned off the special effects because that's what it looks like. But that is still following me around, whatever the hell that is. I don't think you know what? Let's go back and take a look. Hang on 1 second. Maybe I damaged the airplane, huh? If that's the case, then Gumbo got exactly what he was looking for. Let's see here. Well, look at this Miami Vice view pulling up on the island here. Alright, let me take a quick look. That was weird. I might have, yeah, this thing might have been too damn heavy trying to get off this runway. Hang on 1 second. Let's try 250. Let's try another one. I think I must have hit the airplane. I can't think of any other reason why it would do that. There we go. Let's see, did I break it? let's see what's going on here. I don't think I scraped that tail. I think I was fine. Come on, get moving already. Should have did the lock spot view, but that's okay. I just want to see if it hits. No, I was fine. I didn't hit anything. I don't know. That's really weird. Hey Frugal, thanks for stopping by. Always fun, and we definitely should get together in the near future. We'll swashbuckle. Frugal, everybody. All right, so whatever this is, it seems like it's gonna continue following me around. So we're just gonna do our best to ignore it. I don't know, that is really odd. Alright, let's go ahead and turn on course and set sail for Manua, which is right over there. Well, actually, Frugal made a point. He said he wonders if it's a bug from the FSFX package. You know, that's really weird. Look at that. I've turned basically the effects off, and that is still showing up, so... That's really weird. I think I saw someone there wrote that it's a bug in FSX, but I've never, I mean, this is prepared, but I've never seen that happen before. I mean, this is version 2.5, so this is a whole new version of prepared for me, so I'm just wondering if that might be some kind of bug in P3D. That's a very good question. Or if it's something just related to the Alabeo aircraft in general, like maybe there's, you know, something wrong with the airplane itself that they need to fix. That's a really good question. I mean, the thing is if there was an issue with an engine or something like that, it would be coming directly out of the engine and not, like, you know, 80 feet below the airplane. So that is definitely odd. You can already see the next runway on the island of Manua, if that's pronounced correctly, coming into view. And of course, we're going to do a quick flyover first and take a look around the island. Davey says he's actually seen that in FSX. Apparently those are bird feathers that are flying out of the back of my airplane. I didn't see myself run into that flock of birds as I was taking off, so I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, I think that's right, Dave. Dave says it's a spray effect that sometimes doesn't go away. I think that's what it is. The interesting thing is when we started, I was initially using the ASN, and it was raining, but we turned all that off. So there's no rain now that I'm aware of that would even have a spray effect. So that's the whole thing that's kind of weird. Patrick says that this does happen often. It's never happened to me before. That's the weird thing. This is the first I've ever seen that. So we will press on, and I will send a report to the guys over at Lockheed Martin and send some screenshots and see if they can work out a solution to that. Taking a look at some of these islands, this is beautiful, and just as a reminder, what we're looking at now is just a small portion of the entire scenery coverage area that these guys have added. I mean, if you were to fly from one edge of the scenery all the way to the other edge of the scenery, I think it'd probably take us I imagine it'd probably take probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And that's if you include all of the atolls or atolls that they've included in the scenery as well. So there's a lot of airports. Just bear in mind that most of the islands on Western Samoa is FTX Global, but they did add in the airports, which is nice. So just doing a quick flyby, flying around these islands here, so you get a full tour of the island. Wow, look at some of those cliffs. This is probably a perfect place to do hang gliding. Just look how beautiful that looks. I love that the combination of, or the contrast of the water coloration along with the island. Very nicely done. And of course you have the cloud shadows on the terrain here. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. That's not different colors of terrain that you're looking at. Those darker areas that you're looking at is actually the cloud shadows on the terrain. So that also adds a very lovely effect. Baseball pilots owning the terrain mesh is impressive. That's another good point as well. Maybe it had something to do with the proximity of the edge of the runway being near the water. I don't know, maybe. Look at those cloud shadows there. That's really nice. If I probably reselected the aircraft from the selection menu, that would probably make it go away. I'm willing to bet that would probably do it. We have a little town coming up here. Yeah, I'm really digging this whole Orbx tropical destinations, and I think Orbx should do more of that. I mean, obviously we have the guys who are still developing stuff for Alaska, which is the kind of stuff we've become sort of accustomed to with Orbx as of late. You have your Alaska, your Canadian, what is it, the Pacific NA Blue or something like that. You have the Pacific Northwest, and then of course you have your Ireland, which is an island. Not as tropical as this one, of course, but you have Ireland, you have the UK, Norway. You know, and then you have the upcoming Germany and a lot of the other European destinations that Orbx is currently working on. Time to get back into the virtual cockpit here. So you have all those locations that Orbx is currently already working on. And if you consider all of that, you know, would really just, I think in my opinion, I think what in my opinion adds the diversity is these real tropical locations. So you get a little bit of everything. And I think that's what's, you know, the best thing about what Tim and Ken have created here. Because this really is just fantastic. Alright, I think our little airport's coming up here somewhere. I think it's just around this point here. Uh-oh. You know what? Looks like I should have ran vector on this one. Yes, I should have. So this airport is elevated. I guess this one needs vector because, or it needs vector disabled. That's what it looks like. Yeah, because I don't think that's supposed to show up like that. So that's not good. Well, basically what we're looking at here is like a St. Bart's type approach. Well, that sucks. Yeah, it looks like I should have ran vector on that one. I don't remember having to run vector on that when I tested it in 2.4 before I uninstalled it. I don't remember that being an issue before, but okie dokie. Well, as a reminder, if you don't have this scenery yet, make sure you run vector. I'm not sure what the airport code is for this one. I don't have it with me at the moment, but make sure you do a check on vector for those, because otherwise you're going to run into some issues. Nevertheless, I'm going to turn around and try to land on it anyway. Here we go. This is going to be a tight turn here, especially with this little crosswind I've got going on. Yeah, this island definitely is a vector issue. I just don't remember having to do that last time around, but obviously in order for me to do it now, I'd have to shut down the simulator, so we're just going to go for it anyway. It's gonna be an aircraft carrier deck approach in a crosswind, no doubt. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. That's terrible. Yeah, that sucks. But if you see it the way it's meant to be seen, it actually looks really lovely, to be honest. But that's not the way it's supposed to look, unfortunately. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to head back to Pago Pago. I was going to shoot out to that atoll, but I'm going to let you guys discover that. So basically, if you follow this runway heading here, and you just go straight out about maybe 15 minutes or so, you'll run into one of those nice atolls or atolls. And it is really, really pretty. It is very pretty. So as you can see here, there is a pretty airport up here and nice buildings and such, but Vector's kind of thrown everything off. My apologies there. You know, I guess you would kind of think that since this is an Orbx product already, and I guess they'd have to assume that people own Vector, though. Because my thought process would be that it would automatically just disable this in Vector, or sense that you have it, and then just disable it automatically, but no worries. A couple of guys came on late in the stream and said that they actually missed Pago Pago, so we're just going to go ahead and shoot back over there. Yeah, get out of the way, birds. I don't need any more feathers in my props. You know, there is something wrong with the sounds. I can hear when the gear deploys, but I cannot hear when they retract, which is kind of weird. So I think Carnado's probably going to have to release another sound pack for this. Well, my apologies on that last runway there, folks. It really is a beautiful airport, though, when you get to see it properly. Which kind of sucks. But I can't remember how many airports in total, but basically all the airports are roughly about the same quality as that. I think there's like, what, is it 10 airports or something like that across these islands? So there's plenty of airports to explore on your own if you get it. So essentially, if the 3 islands that you saw already is worth the price, and you just keep in mind that you have a whole bunch of airports that you can enjoy that come in the scenery package. So they've essentially added a little bit of extra icing on the cake for us. Boy, this thing climbs out pretty heavy, doesn't it? Pretty fast. So over the next couple of days, let me think here. I think the only other live stream that I need to get to immediately is Daytona. Of all the streams that I promised I'd do, I think that's the only one that I haven't done yet. So I'll be working on Daytona. And then after that's done, then I've got like 6 or 7 written reviews that are coming your way. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The reviews include the GTN series with the A2A C182 review. Let's see what else. Another review is the... which one is it? I think one of them might be the Orbx Victa Era Tour, I think. Another one is... the Grob Tutor released by Iris Simulations. Another one is the Q300 by, I think it's Virtual Call or something like that. So I think those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. So we've got quite a few reviews coming your way, and then once all those are posted, by then Misha should have Sonoma released. And I hope you guys enjoyed that post yesterday. That was a lot of fun writing it. And then after that, I think I'm going to get to work on the A2A Comanche. I got to play with it a little bit today. Oh my God. I mean, obviously it was there at Flight Sim Con 2015. As you notice, I like to keep working that into every sentence. But I finally got to just play with it on my own a little bit. Oh my God, does A2A know how to make a freaking airplane? Absolutely. So at some point that'll be coming your way as well, probably toward the mid-July-ish. Alright, I'm gonna take a look at some of your comments here. Give me just a second. Frugal stopping by today. That was fun. And Patrick was noting those lovely cliffs over at what was the name of that island again? What was the name of that island? Ofu. Yeah, those cliffs are beautiful. And indeed, some very, very impressive terrain mesh that these guys hit here. So it only really covers these 4 islands. The other islands that are covered with all of the additional airports is pretty much just FTX Global. So, I mean, if you like the Orbx PNG series, it pretty much looks similar to that. Except for the fact that you have a bunch of airports that are done in very, very good detail that you can enjoy with it. Rolio, out of curiosity, are you using FSX or prepared? Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a very good question, Rolio, in terms of your anti-aliasing issues. You might have to do a reinstall. But also, you have to keep in mind that all of my settings here are pretty much maxed out. So all of my sliders are pretty much set to the right. But even then, though, some of the issues you're having shouldn't have anything to do with your anti-aliasing, though. If you're seeing jagged edges and stuff, something's definitely off. All right, baseball pilot, take care. See you later, buddy. Wow, Rolio, that's very interesting. Have you installed version 2.5 yet, Rolio? Just out of curiosity. Boy, there's some thermals up here. Getting kind of knocked around up here a little bit. Oh, I see. Not on just the Tetra. That's weird. Sim Design Group doing Luxor. Yeah, these guys are steadily getting better and better with their works. So we just settle in for the trek back to the mainland here. We're punching it pretty fast though, so we should be there pretty shortly. Rolio, what's your GPU? We needed some music for the flight here. Ba-dum, ba-dum, doo-doo-doo-doo. I don't know. That's just weird. if you've already tried reinstalling it and you're still having those issues, maybe it has something to do with how your PC is cooling itself. Maybe it's running a little hot. That's the only other thing I can think of. Okay, there's a question for me in regards to that new Geneva scenery, and thank you for reminding me, because I actually I actually meant to publish a post on that. I did see the Geneva scenery. You know, here's the thing. If you're going to publish a well-known airport that someone has already done super well, it's my opinion that you shouldn't do it unless you can definitely do it better than who else has already done it. Now, looking at the quality of the Geneva airport from that developer, it actually looks good. It looks good, but it does not look better than the version that FS Dream Team released, like, I think it was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So that's the thing. Now, as far as performance goes, probably it performs better, but what actually came to mind was the Geneva done by Dream Factory Studios many years ago. And looking at the differences between this version and the Dream Factory Studios version, this one's definitely better, but I mean, we're talking marginally. So looking at the quality is not bad, but if I already own the FS Dream Team version, I would not go and buy this version. You know, that's the thing. Now, if it were, say, Flight Tampa or Flight Beam doing it, then yeah, I mean, you know, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd jump on it right away, because obviously this version has to have something to offer that the current versions don't already offer. So that's my thing is you know, it's like the equivalent of a developer coming on board and saying, okay, I'm going to do San Francisco, you know, or I'm going to do Frankfurt, you know, and there's a number of developers that are doing that already. And in my opinion, I don't know what they're thinking or what's going through their mind, but the German airports team, as everyone knows, is already working on it. Flightbeam has announced it, and then there's at least 2 other developers that have announced that they're working on it and have showed off models. Even despite the fact that they already know that the German airports team is doing it, Flightbeam is doing it, and there's already like 3 versions of it already available. So sometimes this makes me think, you know, what are these developers thinking? Why are you going after these mega airports as your very first project when already the elite of the elitist of developers are already doing it? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that just makes no sense at all in my brain. Because if you're looking to sell it, you are not going to do well on sales. Now, if you're giving it away for free, then that's great. It's always good to have freeware alternatives because, let's face it, you know, a lot of people are cash strapped, you know, between all of these add-ons. So if it's freeware, that's great. But if they're looking for people to pay for it, that's great if they're just offering a more inexpensive alternative. But at the end of the day, if you're really thinking that you're going to see super huge sales, you're just not. You know, in my opinion, those resources are best used for airports that, you know you can do a better job of or have not been done. So as far as that Geneva goes, it looks good, but I can already tell you anyone that would probably buy it has already purchased the FS Dream Team version. And the same goes for that Aerosoft Zurich. When Aerosoft released their version of Zurich, it wasn't better than the version that was already out. So it was like, what was the point? Now, I know a few people went and bought it, but it just didn't top the FSDT version, in my opinion. That said, I would like to see another developer go out and do Zurich again. Obviously, Flightbeam will never do it because they have a relationship with FSDT. You know, I wouldn't mind Flight Tampa doing it because I think it needs an update. It does need an update, and there's a lot that's been going on at that airport. But, you know, again, to answer your question in long form, I think they've done a good job with Geneva, but it's just not something I would purchase because I already have it. You know, and because FS Dream Team Geneva has been out for so long, like I said, anyone who would want that airport already has it. So what emphasis would they have to buy a new version from a new developer that has not created a version that is better in quality, if that makes any sense? And yeah, good point by Captain Gumbo, who's basically saying announcing Frankfurt sceneries is really popular. I mean, let's face it, Frankfurt is one of the most sought after airports in the whole of Flight Simulator because it happens to be right at the center of you know, one of the largest, if not the largest, you know, well, one of the largest flight simulation communities in the whole of flight simulation. So, granted, yes. You would think it'd be Berlin, considering the fact that Berlin is the capital of Germany, but I think Frankfurt is more of the capital of Germany than Berlin is, only because there just seems, number one, Frankfurt is, you know, a far larger airport than Berlin. I think the population is bigger too, if I'm not mistaken. But Frankfurt is just, that's like the beloved airport of Germany. That's just the airport that, you know, I think Germans are most proud of. Aside from that would be Munich, and Munich has been announced. Who announced Munich? Somebody announced Munich. Who announced it? I'm trying to remember. It's on Air Daily X. I think I published it there, but someone just recently announced that they're doing Munich. Who announced Munich? Somebody, can someone remind me who announced Munich? Anyway, so Berlin Tegel, which is the old Berlin, that's still one of my favorite Aerosoft sceneries, even though, you know, it's old and it's shown as age. But, you know, Frankfurt is just, it's like, that is I think that's the epitome of the proverbial mega airport, if you will. That's just, it's Frankfurt. So, obviously, a lot of people are announcing it, and in my opinion, it's like, what about Nuremberg? I mean, that's like one of my favorite airports. When the hell is someone going to do a new Nuremberg? You know what I mean? So there are other airports in Germany that need to be done, and for all these developers to keep announcing Frankfurt, to me, it's just like, why? Why? But yes, nevertheless, a lot of people are announcing Frankfurt, and in my honest opinion, you know, if I am German Airports team right now, I'd be worried, because once Flightbeam whips that thing out, I mean, let's face it, it's going to be tough for them to compete. I mean, if we talk about if we talk about the elite tier of mega airports, you know, there's a top two, and the top two is going to be Flightbeam and Fly Tampa, you know, and then you have that second tier. So, you know, I think that, you know, all of these new guys who are like, you know, they're setting out to do it. Frankfurt ain't no freaking airstrip. That's a big airport. It's a lot of objects, you know, and you cannot, when it comes to Frankfurt, you can't just do the airport. There's a lot of surrounding buildings and landmarks and stuff that have to go with it. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Bunny Kid is asking me if I'm flying online. No, not at the moment. This is just a live stream. And GJ1995 is basically saying the same thing. He owns the FSDT version. There's no point in running out and grabbing the newer version. You know, it's funny because I really wanted Geneva, and right when I was about to buy it from Dream Factory Studios, this is FS9, about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever that thing was released. I think it was 6 years ago. Right when I was about to buy it, and I kid you not, like, I was like, should I buy it or shouldn't I? Because it really doesn't look all that great, but I really want Geneva. And then, like, FSDT announced Geneva, like, I think, like, a day later, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you, I can wait now. So, you know, when they showed the first previews of it, and then, of course, it still went on to take them another year to release it or whatever, but it was worth the wait. I decided to just wait. Coming back up on the main island now. Okay, so Gombo's correcting me. Berlin is the largest city, but for such a large city, man, Tegel is such a small airport. Oh, it's such a small airport. 29 Palms did Brandenburg, and I did do a review on that, and I love that airport. That Brandenburg is awesome. But I still think it's not open. Is that right, Gombo? Is Brandenburg still not open yet? Because obviously Brandenburg is the airport that Berlin has needed for the last 30 freaking years. But I don't even think they've opened it officially yet. Have they? That's a good question. So Gumbo says Frankfurt is small in comparison to Berlin, but Rolio says Frankfurt is the economical center of Europe. I mean, essentially, Germany as a whole is the economical center of Europe. The great thing about Germany that the United States and the United Kingdom have fallen behind in is Germany has maintained much of its manufacturing. I mean, a lot of it is still disappearing and going to China and Mexico and Brazil and all these other places, but Germany has managed to still retain a large section of its manufacturing economy. which is what has kept it, I think, at the center of Europe in terms of its economical feasibility. So yeah, naturally a lot of that centers on Frankfurt, because if you look at the amount of flights that go into Frankfurt versus that of Berlin, even that Berlin has the larger population, I mean, Frankfurt is a huge airport, you know, it's a very busy airport. Yeah, I actually love Amsterdam. I see you guys talking about Amsterdam. Amsterdam as an airport is one of my just hands down favorites. I really, really love Amsterdam, the airport. And I love the city as well, but you're right. In fact, it's funny because by the time I visited Amsterdam for the first time, I had already visited, you know, probably 50% of Europe. And the thing that tripped me out about Amsterdam, you know, they always say that Las Vegas is where America goes to party or whatever. Well, let me just correct that. Las Vegas is where the trash of America goes to party. That's where the trailer trash of America goes to vacation, really, when you really think about it. But where Americans really go to vacation is Amsterdam. And when I went to Amsterdam, I kid you not, there were more Americans in Amsterdam than there were Dutch. I mean, that's saying something. And that was just the thing that kind of weirded me out about Amsterdam, is I just, you know, I had no idea that there were so many Americans living, working there, and visiting there. And I guess that just has to do with because of, you know, what's legal there and what's not legal, or what was not previously legal here. But I'd have to think that now that cannabis is become so much, you know, largely accepted and legalized in the States, I'm imagining that a lot of Americans now will probably not bother going to Amsterdam as much as they did, because, you know, they're not in the museums, they're not visiting the Sheep Vart Museum or the Picasso Museum or the Anne Frank House, or, don't get me wrong, they are, but the largest population of Americans are just out smoking weed and drinking in the streets and partying. So, and that was based on my own experience, you know, when I visited there the first time. So, you know, now that a lot of that crap is legal here, you know, maybe tourism, Amsterdam might see a drop in tourism. I really don't know. But, you know, it was big enough that Northwest Airlines was able to maintain a fairly large base in Amsterdam because of just how big the tourism is there. But Amsterdam, in terms of the architecture and you know, the history, oh my God, I love it. It's such an incredible place. But it's also a good place to have fun too. So there you have it. But definitely, yes, a lot of tourists in Amsterdam. But anyway, I can't wait to get that Amsterdam airport. Emilios, I'm sure, is working hard, cranking away at it. He showed up for yesterday's live stream. And, you know, I'm like, hey, get off the live stream and get back to work on my Amsterdam. As we know, FSDG also announced Paro a few days ago. So their plate, as always, is very, very full. Very full. Got a case of the hiccups here. I didn't notice that before. There's some battleships down there. Look at that. What are those? Check that out. It's Coast Guard cutters down there. Ooh, I got hiccups. That's terrible. Very nice. Some nice points of interest. Holy crap, I need water. Hang on. Yes, there's a lot. Rolio's like, don't forget the Germans. Yes, there. In fact, a couple of friends that I keep in touch with today were from a small town in Germany, and I just happened to meet them in Amsterdam, and I still keep in touch with them to this day from my first trip to Amsterdam back in, I think, 2006. And you know, really cool guys. But yeah, a lot of Germans in Amsterdam too. Really goes, there's a boatload of Chinese and Japanese there. You know, it's interesting. Everywhere I've traveled, and whenever I travel, I usually travel alone. But one of the things about when people travel from Asia is they travel in huge groups of people. Like, it's just like a huge tourist group. And I'm thinking to myself, there's just no way in hell I would want to travel with like a group of like 50 other Americans traveling abroad. Like, I'd kill myself. Oh my gosh, when you travel abroad, you go to get away from your own people, not to surround yourself with your own people in another country. It's like, if I travel somewhere, I want to be surrounded by the people of that country. Like, that's what I went there for. You know, I don't want to go to a restaurant in the middle of Prague and everyone in there is American, part of my tourist group. Like, no. I'm going to go look for the mom and pop restaurant that no tourist knows of, where you're going to get the best food and get the real culture and, you know, the real immersion of being, you know, in that country, as opposed to just, you know, being in Los Angeles, Prague, or something like that, you know. Just moving around. Boy, we're getting off topic, aren't we? When the streams run long, we really get off topic. Just flying over this island here, the main island. Very, very beautiful. So hopefully you guys are watching while I run my mouth. Oh, so yeah, Captain Gombo says that the new Berlin airport is still closed. Yeah, I know that for Germany, that airport has to be a real embarrassment. And the last I remembered, why do I keep going into idle with this plane? The last I remember with Brandenburg is they were looking for new airport contractors, and all the new airport contractors were like, no, we don't want anything to do with it, because they didn't want to tarnish the names of their companies. So yeah, that's really tough, because I know that the second that airport opens, you know, there'll be a lot more flights from the U.S. And right now, Air Berlin flies to L.A., but are they flying those A330s into Tegel? Is there space for those big A330s in Tegel? But I know that Air Berlin, every summer, they have direct flights to L.A., so it'd be nice to hop on one of those bad boys. And by the way, Captain Gumbo, I did see the Lufthansa, the classic color scheme on the 747-800. Beautiful bird. Boy, that thing is beautiful. I'm glad they brought it back. They took it away for a minute, then they brought it back. So it's the only 747-800 passenger version we see in the LA. The rest are all cargo freighters. All right, here we go. Look at that approach. Beautiful, isn't it? Boy, look at these thermals. I am just getting knocked around here. What are my winds here? My winds are 350 at 10. Okay. You can tell when I'm trying to focus when I get quiet all of a sudden. Look at how I'm just getting tossed here. This is crazy. Yikes. Rudder time, huh? Ouch. Boy, I've been getting my butt kicked today. Okay, here we go. Slow this thing down. Why can I not turn there? That's where I want to turn. Ah! So yeah, here is Orbx Samoa, and this is just a small part. So basically what we saw today is just a small part of what's available. So honestly, if they had just done these islands, this would have been plenty. But they did include a lot of additional airports and an upgraded FTX Global for you, included in the package, just as a, hey, here's a whole bunch more airports. So, and keep in mind, you do have the Paxim Rarotonga, which is not too far away, and I did a full written review on that, so you can head over to airdailyx.net to the scenery reviews page to check out that Rarotonga island, which looks just about as good as this. There is another Tahiti in development by Aerosoft, but from what I'm hearing, people aren't too impressed, so I don't know how that's going to come out, how that's going to work. I think there is a freeware Nandi somewhere. I know somebody did a Nandi. It might be freeware or payware. I don't know where you get it, but I know there is a Nandi Fiji out there somewhere. And if you just go to the ADXLive Global Airports map page, you'll see that there's a lot of payware airports. In fact, I'm going to do that for you in just a second. I'm going to pull our airplane back up here where we started earlier. I don't usually taxi outside the airplane like this, but we'll just park over here somewhere. You know what? We'll just stick our nose right in here. Hey guys, what's going on over here? Yeah, we're just gonna pull up to the bar and grab a beer with these two guys. There we go. Nice. And for your pleasure, let's see here, time preview. Look at that. So there are some lights. Not all these buildings lit up though. That one over there did. Sometimes when I use time previews, not all of the lights activate though. Sometimes they have to be loaded properly. But let's see, we'll just move this back over here. Like just before sunset. That looks pretty. Alright, and let's take a quick look at that map. Oops. Hopefully this thing doesn't crash again like it did on me a minute ago. This map, by the way, is way out of date and it needs to be updated, and it's taken a long time to get around to it. I'm just a one-man show. But if anyone wants to join this map and help us keep it up to date, just send me an email, and you know, I'll add you to this map so that we can continue to keep it up to date, because there's a lot of airports that were released recently that need to be updated. So, okay, let's go ahead and zoom in. Where are we here? There's Hawaii. Where is Samoa on here? Where's Fiji? Here we go. Oh, you know what? Actually, someone I think came in and did it. Did they? Let me see. What is this? Nice. Okay, so whoever is helping keep this map up to date, thank you so much. You are a citizen of AirDailyX. You are amazing. Thank you. So someone has actually already come in and updated this. This is so cool. Thank you. I really appreciate. I wanted to keep this as a community effort, and you guys are just doing such a tremendous job helping out with this, because I have not touched this map in probably 4 or 5 months. So, and I just haven't had the time. That is how this airport is supposed to look. This was the one that was elevated earlier. That's how that's supposed to look. So again, sorry about that. So these were the islands that we visited earlier. The atoll, whatever, is out here. This is the one that they did as well, as part of the package. So you can get an idea of how much further we would have had to go to get to that. And this is the last airport we were at. So that one was included. And then, of course, this is FTX Global up here, but you can see here they added in these airports as well as part of the scenery. So whereas the island itself is like FTX Global Enhanced or whatever they call it, but yet they still added in these airports. So that's those. And then they added, is it this one? They added this one too. This is another atoll or whatever that they added in there as well. But I think there's a couple of airports. There's still a couple of airports, I think, on another island or something. Is it this one? I think there's still another airport that wasn't added. I can't remember. But anyway, you can see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 7 airports there. What is this? Okay, so then we get into some of the PAC-Sim stuff, Pacific Island Simulations. And this, again, gives you an idea of where else you can fly to. So this is another airport by PAC-Sim. And if you click on these links, it should take you to the airport. Here we go. So can we see some screenshots of this airport? There you go. There's some screenshots there of this airport. So quality-wise, obviously not as good as what Tim, because some of these airports are really old by PAC-Sim, but they're still really good. And you can see in some of these screenshots here, I mean, it's still really good stuff. So let's go back to the map so you can see here where other airports are. I did say there was a Nandi. Who did this Nandi? Oh, Next Gen Simulations. Oh, this isn't, well, let me see. Because I knew someone did it. I just couldn't think who it was. So So this is next gen simulations, and you know, how much is this? This is, oh, it's $6. I mean, for $6, it looks freaking awesome. Yeah, so there you go. So there is a Nandy for you, $6. You know, can't really beat that. So there's Nandy. What else out here? And then you got all these airports coming down here. You got this one. Oh, did we see that one? Oh, yeah, these are part of a package, I think. Yeah, it looks like all of these came in the same package. And this is the Rarotonga scenery. Or no, not Rarotonga. This is just Tonga, right? Yeah, this is just Tonga. Rarotonga's in the opposite direction. So you've got one airport here on Tonga. So there's that. And then Rarotonga is over here in the Cook Islands. I think this is Rarotonga. There we go. There's Rarotonga. And I did a full review on this airport. And this airport is really, really quite good. So I definitely recommend that one. In fact, if we go to scenery reviews up here. And let's see here. Got to catch up on my reviews. Here we go. So I wrote this one up a while back. Yeah, this is just, I mean, a beautiful airport. So I highly recommend, if you're going to get this product from Orbx, you know, this is a nice airport to use with it as well. Especially if you like to fly tube liners. Because some people are saying, oh, it's, you know, that Samoa is way out in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere else to fly to. Well, no, it's not. A lot of people don't know that these other products were developed because they were probably never really interested in flying in down in the South Pacific. So you can see here, I mean, it's a really well done scenery. So, and I highly recommend it. There's the airport from above. So there is that. And the whole island was done too, by the way. So you can see there, really, really good stuff. All right, so that's that airport. What else is down there? Let's see. So that's the American Samoa. There's Fiji. I think we saw that one already. The atolls or atolls of Tuvalu is there. You got more stuff up here. Another nice looking airport there. So, I mean, if we just zoom out on the map here, and if, let me see, this is where the Orbx Samoa is, which is right here. So you've got quite a few islands here. I mean, there's a lot of airplanes here on this map. And then if you want to go a little bit further, you've got Hawaii here, which is nice if you want to, you know, do some kind of 777 or NGX or whatever. And then, of course, then you hit New Zealand. Once you get down here, Australia is just packed with stuff. And then you got Indonesia. So, I mean, really, when you zoom out, there's a lot of airports down here. So when people say, oh, that's in the middle of nowhere, well, no, not really, because there is a lot of stuff. And then you have Papeete or Papete or Papet or whatever. They're showing the next gen simulations one here instead of the Aerosoft. A lot of people ask questions like, how do we know, like, what's the benchmark in terms of if more than one person does these airports? How come there's only one on here? It's really is community driven. So really, it's just if there's other airports or other developers that you know of, then you want to go in and just add to it and put that on there so people know. Because Aerosoft did do a Tahiti one, but it's not on here. So you know, we just need someone to go in and put that older Aerosoft Tahiti one on there. And, of course, adding the new Aerosoft Tahiti. Everything that's a gold star here just means that that's something that's in development that we're waiting to get released. So we should probably put a gold, you know, a diamond or whatever that is there. All right, let's head over to full terrain. And take a look at the price. There it is at the very top. Click on buy now. And what is that in US dollars? US dollars, you're looking at 26 bucks. And in euros, what is that, like 24 bucks maybe? Where's euros? Euros 22.63 in euros. So there it is. I'm going to check and see if there's any final questions regarding the scenery before we take off. So yeah, some people are saying we should add certain freewares and stuff like that. Look, like I said, it's community driven. So if you want to be added to the the contributors list to that map, just send me an email, and I will. You have to have a Gmail account because it only works with Gmail. But send me an email with your Gmail credentials, and I'll add you to the list, and you can go in and help populate that list. So, like I said, I haven't touched that list in probably 5 months, and you can already see there that Pago and everything was already added. So that's the community that's helping keep that list alive, because I can't do it on my own. And Jano, sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but he goes, thank you for the map. I was searching something like that for a long time before he discovered Air Daily X. So yes, indeed. And I see there are some links to adding certain airports to the map. So look, I don't have the time to keep that map updated. I've already mentioned I have a lot of work to do with reviews and stuff. So if you would like to go in and add your favorite airports, send me an email and you can update it yourself. All right? Okay. Let's see. So yeah, just send me an email and I'll add you to the list so you can go in and help with that. So other than that, guys, here it is. Hopefully this was helpful. This was kind of a long stream, and we didn't even hit all the additional airports that come with the package. So I think that's even better. Sorry, the stream kind of took a wrong turn starting off in the beginning, and that was just because I had some issues with the broadcasting software right off the bat, and sometimes that just happens. So my apologies, but again, I don't want to show too much of the scenery. I want to just give you a good overall feel and look of it, so that way when you purchase it yourself, you can actually go on your own adventure and see most of it on your own. I want to give another huge congratulations and well done to Tim and Ken. Let me see if I get this right. Ken is down in Tassie, and wait, no, Ken is in Tasmania, right? And I think it's Tim that lives somewhere between Sydney and Brisbane, somewhere like that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, congratulations to those guys for making another amazing destination. Don't know where they're going to go next, but I'm really loving this tropical stuff. It's just, I'm loving it. I'm eating it up. And so congratulations to those guys. Head out to the Flight Sim store. Buy your copy today. And someone's already asking when will the next stream will be. The next stream will be Daytona. Maybe tomorrow morning or the following day. I've got to try to get some work done on the website, which is when I would be doing that right now, but I'm in the middle of streaming. So probably tomorrow or the next day, but I will definitely put an update on the daily news page and an update on the Facebook page when I'm going to get to Daytona. And then after Daytona, most likely the next stream will be Sonoma, which is almost ready for release by Misha from Orbx. So until next time, it is time to sign out. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.